here at this evening symposium, and thank you very much to Breas for having the initiative of organizing this evening symposium. And thank you also for inviting me to be the chair with two exceptional speakers and at the same time good friends. The title of the symposium is Mastering Patient Monitoring in Home Mechanical Ventilation from Ventilator Basics to Advanced Polygraphy. At the end of the session, you can get a book with some clinical examples at the exit of the door, and the front door of the room. So let's start with Professor González Bermejo, Jesus González Bermejo from La Pitié-Salpêtrière, who is going to talk about how I monitor my patients using standard ventilator data and waveforms.
Thank you very much for the invitation. Thank you, Manel, for this introduction. So I'm very happy to be here and happy to see that in this Congress, even the late symposium in the evening are quite full. So very, very happy. We appreciate it. Thank you. I'm going to talk about the curves, and if you know me, you know that I am a psychopath of the monitoring and the lecture of the curves, because I think it's so useful, and I'm trying to convince you today. It's late. We had just a big day, all of us, so I will try to be very pragmatical, and but I am a scientist also, and I will try to show you that we are trying to make some evidence-based medicine in what I am trying to convince you. Secondly, my conflict of interest, I think that it's always the most important slide of a show, and I could say that I have absolutely not a financial, personal conflict of interest. I did receive some fees in the last years, but I decided to stop as I was president of a French Society of Pneumology since 2002. And now I have just currently a support for research about monitoring. So yes, I have a personal conflict of interest with myself because I am very convinced it's my research and I will try to convince you, but not personal financial conflict of interest, and I think that's important. First, I'm going to start with some personal advertising or personal publicity showing where it comes. This story comes from many years ago when I was in intensive care as doctor of intensive care, and all of you, if you work in intensive care, you know that we read curves of ventilators every day, every 10 minutes, during the night, during the day. It's true with the patients in front of you, but we read the curves. We read the curves of flow, of pressure, of volume, of leaks. You see the leaks because you are in front of the patients. And in 2000, I stopped intensive care and I started to do home NIV with Duchenne patients in Garches. It was the only way to learn how to treat these patients. And we had no data. No curves, nothing. The screens of a ventilator were smaller than my finger, and no data. Arrived, thanks to Philips and then to ResMed, two tools to monitor the curves, the Stardust, it was a small polygraph in which you could add the curves of a ventilator, and the Wrestling. The Wrestling, no curves, but information about the night. And I will show you some results with that. It was, wow, it was the first time that we have been able to see what happened during the whole night of our patients. And in 2007, I remember I was discussing with Breas, and I told them, wow, we need curves. And the engineer of Breas told me, but we have the curves, but we don't show it because I don't think it was interesting. Yes, please. So Breas was the first to put in the software the curves of ventilation I used to use many years before in intensive care. So that's how you download the curves. And the first thing I want to show you is, again, we are pragmatical. Of course, perhaps it's quite fast, but it's like this. To read the curves of ventilation, you can do it. Next week, going back to your unit, It's easy. It's free. It doesn't take much time, some energy to learn what I'm going to teach you, but if you do that, you will have that, and sorry, but, well, perhaps it's me, but I really find that wonderful. I think I'm not normal, but anyway, it's great. You have that for free, it's easy to download, and you have a curve. I start the lesson trying to explain you that the curves must be written this way. In Brea's devices and in other devices, but especially in this trademark, you have a very interesting information in the top. It means the patient effort. Yellow, the patient is not breathing. That's the device, control cycles. Green is the patient. Then I recommend you to put the pressure, what the device is doing. Then the flows, and in Brea's devices, we were lucky because we have the total flow and the calculate float of a patient. The volume, interesting, and the leaks. And you will see that we can add even more signals. But you are able next week to have this type of screen and not that. That was it was my first recording with the Stardust, you said just before, many years ago, with polygraphy under NIV. So you can probably understand that it was impossible to read anything in this trace on the left. But even with a very good trace, many years ago, many ways, training how to do polygraphy under NIV, it's not so easy, not so obvious. It's true that I see one of my my colleagues, and they see the trace on the left, they say, okay, that's obvious, it's that. But when you start, it's not so obvious. That's why I think it's very important to recommend and to teach interesting things, okay, complicated things, okay, but today, at the end of the symposium, you will be able to do it easily with the curves of the software. But many years ago, it was not so easy. And I was alone, and I thought I was alone. In fact, not so much, because when I asked questions to experts, I saw that, in fact, they were so scared, like me, in front of these traces. So we made a group many years ago called Somno NIV Group. First French group, then 10 years later, a European group. Then we tried to share our knowledge with publication. Thank you very much to the English journal Thorax to have published all our papers every 2 years. Then we start to open to Europe to teach. Look at that, it was last GAVD and the room was again full. Even to produce a national graduation in France. And I was happy to see today that one of you, I don't know where is she, but she said, oh, I am in the web gradation, etc. So every year, since now 6 or 8 years, we have a gradation for home care, ventilation, and monitoring. So we improve a lot. I think that now we are very strong. I use it routinely every day, and I'm going to show you now, at the end of this advertising, I'm going to answer to the question asked, how I monitor my patients. And you are going to see that it's very easy. Very easy, and I show you that. Okay. Difficult to convince you. But I'm going to detail this algorithm and show you that it's, in fact, quite easy. But that's what Jean-Paul Janssens published in our first paper, how to monitor the quality of ventilation. It's that. And don't be afraid, I'm going to detail it and simplify it very quickly. First of all, the most important thing is the first step, and it's a clinical step. Yes, of course, we are a group, we love read traces and brainstorm about traces, but we are, first of all, pneumologists, clinicians, and the most important thing, and we have repeated a lot, many times in this Congress, is to improve the symptoms of the patients. The patient must feel better and improve hypoventilation. We treat patients for hypoventilation, so improve hypoventilation. How to follow that you are improving hypoventilation, looking at traces of PCO2, PTCO2 or blood gases, or indirectly you can see oximetry. And you will see that now the softwares of BREAS are able to add it on your traces. But that's important. I want to remind, because before to go to the traces, before to go to the curves, that you are pneumologist, and the first thing to do to check is that your patient is better and the control of hyperventilation is better. The most important thing, even if I won't repeat it. Let's go, breaking news. Breaking news. Marieke just published that 2 weeks ago, or something like that. That's very interesting. She confirms in patients with control during the day and during the night, green, control of hypoventilation during the day and during the night, the survival in COPD patients is better if comparing with uncontrolled or during the night or during the day of PCO2. Nice confirmation that control of hypoventilation is the top or the most important thing. So now, how to do it with curves? With curves, but you can, this first step, you can start it even with the software of your device. Because the software of the device, you can add an oximeter and you can have oximetry. Look at this trace. This patient is well ventilated. Look at this trace. You can add, look below, the PTCO2. That's perfect. You are happy because your patient is well ventilated just when with a free trace. Well, you must buy the PTCO2 probe, but anyway. And in this patient, you see that this patient is not well ventilated, just thanks to the software of BREAS with the Vivo 3 here and the signal of a PTCO2. Okay, so now let's go in the curves. If your patient is badly ventilated, you are only 5 reasons to be badly ventilated. Remind that, only 5 reasons, and it's very obvious. The first is your patient does not use your ventilator. The second one is you have leaks. The third one is you have obstructions. And the fourth and the fifth, that are going to be the same, and now I'm teaching that is the same. In fact, you have 4 reasons to be badly ventilated. And the most important reasons are the 1, the 2, and the 3. Don't be scared with the 4th. We are always talking about asynchrony. Does the asynchrony have a good correlation? Oh, stop it, please. Okay, it's important. It's nice to see its asynchrony. But the majority of your patients are badly ventilated because they don't use it, they leak, and they have obstruction. And if you have asynchrony, the majority of the time is because your tidal volume over pressure is not enough. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid, it's easy. Easy first with usage. Usage and compliance of the treatment. With Jean-Christian Borel, we showed, and we have many other studies, but I want to show you this one in COPD patient. We show that patients using NIV between 4 and 8 hours have better survival in, it's data from all France, the center of France, and many years ago, and it's published in ILS, it's published in catheterisclerosis. Well, in many diseases, it shows that if you don't use a ventilator, the survival is less. You can see it downloaded, the data of the ventilator, very easily. The majority of you know that, but it's easy. And it's a very important step. And for example, here you see the patient that does not use it. He's going to come to my consultation. He's going to say, it doesn't work, your treatment. Okay, and then I turn the screen and I show it to him. But, okay, but you don't use it. You can see it. Okay, and it doesn't work. This patient that stopped 1 week, of course, it doesn't work. Secondly, leaks. Leaks, you are going to tell me, okay, it's easy. I see the statistics and it works. No, it's, you must need more. I'm going to show it. First, we show many years ago in ALS patient. Well, with ALS patient, it's easy because if you do something wrong, the survival is not very long. So with ALS patient, we show many years ago that if a patient have maintained hypoventilation, the survival is less, and the main cause was leaks in this paper. With Claudio Rabec, we try to answer to the question, what is the good threshold to have leaks? Many years ago, we showed that with ResMed devices and ResMed mask, the calculation was not so bad. But nowadays, it's not this, it's real life. We have different devices, we have different masks, we have many tools, and now the results are completely different. With our colleague Zhu, we published that to try to find the good level of leaks depending on the profile of a patient on a bench and the device we had in front of us. The only thing you have to see is the different threshold we found in you see that they are completely different. Don't go to the details. It goes from, we have good ventilation without asynchrony, with one device, one patient for 20 liters meter, and for the device, the leak can be at 100 liters per minute. So be careful. Now, currently, you can't say, due to the fact that you are going to use a lot of different masks with different international leaks, you can't say there is a level of a leak. So leaks, you must go to curves. And that's my first step, to read the curves. And the good way to look at your trace to see if you have curves, is to find if the signal of a flow has changed from the normality on the green one on the right to this type of signal, a completely squared signal, or this type of signal in red, that's leaks. You can see it clearly on the total flow here, a squared signal. You can see it with an incredible increase of the flow, it's leaks. And of course, if you see at global statistics, this patient, for example, won't have a lot of median leaks, but here the leaks are very important sometimes in the night. Obstructions. Why should we look at obstructions? Same thing. We published with Marjolaine Georges many years ago that, again, with ALS patients, if patients had obstructions or obstructions are not corrected with an increase of PEP, the survival was less. So don't let your patients with obstructions. With very severe disease as ALS, the mortality is increased. So don't let them with obstructions. And obstructions, this paper for Ramon Fernandez Alvarez showed many years ago, again, that, okay, the automatic calculation of obstructions of a device is good when you do not have any obstructions, but when you have obstructions, the human lecture comparing automatic lecture, it's not correlated. So you can't use only the index of apnea of a statistic, you must go to curves. And in the curves, it's very easy to see the obstructions. Leaks were increase of the flow and changing of the form of the flow. Obstructions are decrease of the flow. And here, this patient was not too bad, but you see a moment of the night with a lot of obstructions. Then you go to asynchrony. And asynchrony, okay, you take here a screenshot of a patient with curves, and you see that the curves are absolutely not beautiful. This patient is in asynchrony. There is a problem. But what is it? Intracycle, early cycling, uncoupling. You need belts. You need belts, and then you must go to the very difficult step, what is learning polygraphy under NIV, step 4 and 5, but it's not for all the patients, absolutely not, it's rare. Here it was clear late cycling, and now you are going to see Jean-Michel, after my 3 last slides, Jean-Michel Arnal is going to explain you how to read these very easy traces I show you, but when it becomes more difficult and needs belts. And I'm going to finish because I am a scientist and I must talk about evidence-based medicine. Is it useful, what I'm teaching to you? Evidence-based is needed, and let's go, let's try. So, quite finished, we have finished to include and the one-year follow-up of a Rescue 2 monitor. You have a poster here and an abstract on the screens if you want to see it. We have just finished a Rescue 2 monitor, a randomized control study with France, Portugal, and Spain. The main project was after acute exacerbation of COPD to randomize patient to no NIV, classic NIV followed just by PTCO2 and oximetry, and a group with lecture of the curves. And we are waiting for results. The results probably in the next GIVD, because we are going to finish to analyze the data this year, publication next year, and I hope that it will be available for the next GIVD, but I will be able to show you that we have evidence-based medicine. So in conclusion, how I monitor my patient using standard ventilator data and waveforms, first of all, it's comfortable. When you have a patient and you see this type of trace on the right, you are happy, you feel good because you think, okay, my patient is well ventilated. Or if you see another type of trace and very badly ventilated, okay, you are less stressful because, okay, I know because my patient is not well. It's comfortable with lecture of the curves to understand why your patient is badly ventilated or well ventilated, like here. Secondly, I try to convince you because it's low cost. The softwares are free. Okay, the PTCO2 is not free, the probes of oximetry and the belts are not free, but the software is free. So next week, you can have the software on your screen, you take the smart card or the ventilator and start it. Thirdly, it's quick, it's fast. You can do it quickly. It doesn't take, I do it in consultation. It doesn't take more than 5 minutes to download, to read the trace, and you are far more comfortable during your consultation with your patient. It's easy. It's easy, why? Because you are going to be taught by Jean-Michel Arnal in few seconds how to read polygraphy under an IV. That's difficult. That's difficult, but read the 3 first steps. It's easy. Do it, please. Is it useful? Is there any evidence-based medicine? Well, we are going to try to answer with Rescue 2 monitor, of course, but sometimes for me, it's quite the same question now as I drink a lot of coffee during the day. If I would like to show that coffee is useful in my day with a randomized control study, must I show that I have a tool that is comfortable, low cost, quick, help me? Should I show that there is evidence-based medicine? We are going to try it, to show it, but not sure. Perhaps tea, coffee, everything that is good, and it's just a way to treat the patient. And today I'm trying to convince you to try. Because in French we say, l'essayer, c'est l'adopter. And it will be my conclusion. Please, try it next week, because if you give a try, you will never go back. Thank you very much.